Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 14th of May to the 18th of May 2018. As always, starting with the US dollar index and oil, we're going to run through a number of markets looking at key levels of support and resistance in the process. And we're also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking at this week and also in the weeks ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, starting with the US dollar index. Now, last week we were sitting in this area, we were looking for further advances, and we actually took out the target set from last week at the 93.25, and we started to roll over, and it looks like we're now coming back down towards the previous broken resistance area at the 92.03. So, very simply put, going into next week, we're looking for a further pullback, possibly even a test. Preferably, if we can come all the way back and retest broken resistance turning support, that would be preferable, as this would provide a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking for bullish formations and patterns, initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside at the 93.65. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards target 2 at the 94.22. Next, we have crude oil. Now, last week, we started the week breaking up in this area, and we had this big sell-off, this kind of spike, and this was actually from the speech Donald Trump gave about the Iran nuclear deal, and we saw oil selling off to the downside with the prospect of sanctions, but it whipped back above this key area of resistance and support here at the 69.68, and we start the week above this key area of broken resistance. Okay, and we actually took out the target last week at the 71.18, and we're starting to make our way back down to this area. So if we get further declines in this area, preferably if we can come all the way back and retest broken resistance turning support, this is going to be a great place once again to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get those bullish formations and patterns in this area, this is going to be a place we're going to start to look for long positions, okay, up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 1 at the 73.32. And if we get a break through here, we'll be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside at the 7,500 handle. So the first pair we're going to look at is euro dollar. Now, last week we actually came down, took out the target to the downside in the euro dollar at the 1.18780, which was about here, and we started to push to the upside. Now, very simply put, we are below previous broken support, okay, at the 1.20511. So we are looking for further declines in the euro dollar as long as we stay below this key area of broken support. However, you can see we haven't actually come back and retested this yet. So what we'll be looking for going into next week is a bit of a correction, okay, and possibly to start the week a bit of a counter trend trade like this. Okay, but ultimately, once we get this pullback into this area, preferably, as I said, retesting broken support, turning resistance, this is going to be a great place to switch that bias and to continue to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.1722. So just to confirm, we are looking for a continuation to the downside, but there may be an opportunity here in the euro dollar as we get the US dollar index correcting back down towards broken resistance turning support. We may get the opportunity for a counter trend trade first before we start to look for those shorts. Next, we have pound dollar. Now, last week, pound dollar did continue to push to the downside. It was a little bit choppy, actually, but we did take out the target area set from last week. And we are accumulating underneath this key area of broken support, turning resistance to the 1.3592. So very simply put, as we start the week below broken support, turning resistance, this is a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if those bearish formations and patterns arise, this will be a great opportunity to potentially look for short positions in the pound dollar, and we're going to be looking first of all down to the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.3401, and if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next target, the next key area of support to the downside at target 2 at the 1.3272. Next, we have US dollar Japanese yen. Now, last week we started the week at this key area of broken resistance turning support, and we did get a push to the upside. You see we started to continue back down. So very simply put, as we are still above the 108.773, and you can see we're kind of ranging a bit, we are still preferring to look for long opportunities, looking up to the next key area resistance, the upside at 110.356. And if we start to get a pullback in this area, okay, possibly even another retest of broken support turning resistance, any pullback in this area is going to provide a great place to start once again to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area resistance, as I said, at target 1 at the 110.356. Next, we have Aussie dollar. Now, last week, we actually had further declines in the Aussie dollar, taking out the first target to the downside at 0.74385. And we pulled all the way back into this area, and we currently sit at previous broken all the way from in the past support turning resistance. Okay, you can see it acted once, and it's now here for a second time. And so as we start the week beneath this key area of broken support turning resistance, this is a great place to start to look for those bearish formations and patterns to appear. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns appearing on Monday in this area, this is going to be a great place to start to look for short positions. And we're going to be looking for a target down towards the next key area of support to the downside at the 0.7333. Now, if we start to get a deeper correction in the US dollar index, which is what we discussed earlier, especially if the euro dollar is going to push up as well, we may find that we get a break and this fails to hold. If it does, and we start to, again, we'll use the US dollar index as a bit of a compass, we can start to look for a bigger pullback into this area like this next week. But as we start the week below this key area of resistance, our initial bias is to the downside, and we're going to be looking preferably for shorts. Next, we have New Zealand dollar. Now, last week in New Zealand dollar, we did continue to decline, and we took out 2 of the 3 targets we had set from last week. And we start the week below broken support turning resistance at 0.69902. And so very simply put, on Monday, when we come into the live trading room, we're going to be looking right about this area for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking for further shorts in the New Zealand dollar down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 1 of the 0.68643. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 of the 0.68180. Next, we have US dollar franc. Now, similar to the US dollar index and also the euro dollar, you can see US dollar franc has been in a big push to the upside, and we broke above the key area of resistance at the 0.99168, and we are still looking overall at further advances in the US dollar Swiss franc. However, going into next week, we could be in for a little bit of a breather, and so there is a chance we could start to come back down towards broken resistance turning support. And if we get a pullback into this area, and because it's quite a big move down, there may be a chance again in the US dollar franc, as we discussed in the euro dollar, for a counter trend trade first. But once we get a move back into this area, preferably retesting broken resistance turning support, this is once again going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the target and next key area resistance to the upside at the 1.00988. Next, we have US dollar CAD. Now, last week, US dollar CAD did come all the way up and take out the target set from last week before declining. And you can see it came down and traded all the way into broken resistance turning support at the 1.27679. And we start the week above this key area of broken resistance turning support. So because of that, our bias is to the upside still. And you can see we're actually ranging by the looks of it, or we're beginning to range between these 2 levels here. And so very simply put, this is a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bullish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking back up to the top of the range. As you can see, last time we broke above here, okay, we came up to here. In the past, when we broke down below here, we came down to here. So you can see we're looking for this move up here once again. Now, if we get a break through this top of the range here at the 1.29085, this is when we're going to start to look for further continuation to the upside and the next key area of resistance to the upside at the 1.31119. And finally, we have gold. Now, last week we started the week below broken support, turning resistance at the 1315.77. And you can see we actually broke back above this key area of resistance. So just as we started last week with a bearish bias on gold, you can see having broke back above here, this is why we create these reference points. So you can have this clarity in your trading. Now we've broken back above this key area of resistance and this has failed. This is a great place to start to look for this previous broken resistance to act as support. And if we get this kind of price action, this is a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at potentially initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance and the target set at the 1334.88. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to all of you who do that on a regular basis, and a big thanks to those of you who have subscribed so far. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you'll have a very profitable week next week. Take care and don't forget to trade safely.